Tariffs, the biggest topic in America and the world over since April 9th, Liberation Day 2025. So it's not just a trade war, it's Donald Trump dropping a bombshell on a globalist conspiracy that's been screwing us, aka America, for decades. The U.S. has been bled dry by a shadowy elite who've rigged the system to gut our jobs, flood our markets with cheap junk, and line their pockets while we rust. So Trump's tariffs, which have hit with brutal force, are his middle finger to that cabal, which is a calculated strike to crash their game, rebuild America's might, and stick it to the parasites who thought that they could keep us down. So in this video, we're going to dive into how Trump's moves could dismantle the global hegemony, reset our economy, and expose the plot that has held us hostage, and hopefully prove that he's the one to fix it all. So if we dive deeper into this and how Trump is approaching the situation and how his tariff strategy has been implemented, on Liberation Day, he basically announced that he was going to try to dismantle the global, again, hegemony that's been bleeding us dry and upend that globalist power structure. So it's not just about trade, again, it's about taking a sledgehammer to a system that's screwed over American workers, industries, and our sovereignty for decades, while Trump reasserts U.S. dominance on his terms, not the elite. So picture this. Trump's tariffs hitting today, which have hit with a newly announced 125% tariff on Chinese goods and originally introduced as a 29% average on dozens of other countries, which have just been paused, coincidentally, for 90 days because they are willing to work with us and play fair. It's not economic tinkering, though. They're a declaration of war on the globalist elite who have turned us, the United States, into a piggy bank for their borderless empire, the New World Order, effectively. So for too long, the post-World War II order, think the WTO, IMF, and all those cushy trade deals, has let countries like China, the EU, and even so-called allies dump cheap goods, steal American jobs, and build their own wealth on the backs of U.S. manufacturing decline. Sounds simple, right? So Trump sees this as a con it is. It's a rigged game where America foots the bill for everyone else's prosperity while the globalists laugh all the way to Davos, that beautiful World Economic Forum of unelected elites. So from Trump's lens, these tariffs are, if we're looking at it from a pro-America sense, these are a genius gut punch to that hegemony. The market freakout, which led to the Dow tanking 1,700 points last week, NASDAQ in bear territory, is just the sound of the old order cracking. Sure, yeah, right, Wall Street's crying. The big guys are, but Trump's betting the short-term price is worth it to break the stranglehold of foreign powers and their corporate cronies who have outsourced America's industrial might. So if we look at it from a conspiracy lens, this isn't just chaos for chaos' sake. It's a calculated move to expose the globalist puppet masters who are pulling the levers behind the scenes. People are going nuts, especially on social media, about how Trump is trying to destroy the United States. He's a dictator. We're heading towards a depression or a recession. Mainstream media has been chattering for weeks about this since he was elected. So what's Trump's play here? Well, he needs to flip the script, slap a massive tariff on China, and that's not just targeting exports. He's aiming to cripple the economic engine that's fueled Beijing's rise as a rival superpower. So the globalists who've cozied up to China for their cheap labor and fat profits get caught right in the crossfire. That's why you hear these billionaires freaking out all the time. So meanwhile, he's hitting allies with tariffs like the EU's new counter barriers. It's not a misstep. It's a wake-up call that America is done playing nice with freeloaders who have enjoyed decades of trade surpluses while the U.S. rots. The conspiracy angle, again, ramps up when you consider the whispers of a deeper plan. Crash the dollar's over-reliance in global trade, which would force nations to scramble for alternatives and let the U.S. dictate the terms in the chaos that follows. 4D, maybe even 5D chess. So the question would be, how does this dismantle the globalist power structure? Well, it's simple. It starves the beast. The WTO's toothless multinational corporations are panicking, which Amazon's already canceling orders in China, canceling Chinese orders. And countries are forced to either negotiate with Trump to watch their economies burn, effectively choking them out. So we would see this as leveling the playing field, right? America stops being the world's bitch and doormat and starts calling the shots, which has to happen. So it gets even bolder when you speculate that Trump's endgame is to intentionally crash the market, which many people are saying this, using the turmoil to refinance America's ballooning debt at rock bottom rates and strong arm the Federal Reserve into slashing interest rates. So picture it. Markets tank, panic sets in, Trump swoops in to restructure U.S. liabilities later this year while forcing the Fed's hand, all under the guise of saving the economy that he just rattled. So if it happens, the U.S. economy could see major ups and downs. However, even though stocks might plummet, say another 2,000 points down on the Dow, which today it's up 2,000, as investors flee the uncertainty, wiping out trillions in paper wealth. The kicker is Trump could use that collapse to buy back U.S. debt as on the cheap as bond yields spike, then crash, slashing the $35 trillion debt burden by billions overnight, lower Fed rates, forced down to near zero, and would juice borrowing, spark a construction boom, and let the manufacturers repatriate cheaply, with factories sprouting up in the Rust Belt like it's the 1950s again, and inflation might spike short term, but as imports dry up, but Trump's betting that domestic production fills the gap very fast, stabilizing prices while jobs soar. Effectively, think of 5 million new gigs in a couple of years. The dollar might wobble globally, but that's the point. It forced the world to rethink trade without America as the endless ATM, giving Trump leverage to rewrite deals from a position of strength. It's a high-stakes power move, of course, that could neuter the globalist financial grip, shifting leverage back to America. Now, the beauty in this is that Trump's defiance of the experts, the quote-unquote experts we hear about all the time. Economists are going on about inflation and recession, and Trump just says, screw it. I'm betting I can bring factories back. I can boost jobs. I can make the U.S. self-reliant again. That goes a long way, which would prove the globalist model was a sham all along. We can feel it in our pockets. And the market volatility is just the death throes of a system that's gorged on America's decline. So, say a push to reset the global finance, kneecap rivals, or rewrite the debt game, which is going to happen later this year, hopefully. That would work if Trump's holding the reins, not some faceless cabal. So it's a bold, disruptive strike to reclaim America's destiny from the jaws of a parasitic global hegemony, word again, with a masterstroke of crash, refinance, and reset the board in America's favor. Now you understand the depth at which we are playing this game of global finance, of taking back control. It requires drastic, bold, risky moves. It is the most effective game of poker and the greatest poker face ever seen. And China, thank God it's not Joe Biden in office anymore, because Joe Biden was selling us off to China as vice president when he was in Congress. It's been decades of selling us off to the highest bidder. Joe Biden and many other politicians, frankly, have gotten unbelievably wealthy at the cost of America's prosperity. This ought to tell you that there's a much deeper play, and it will change the course of history for America and the world. We're tired of being a bitch to everyone and just bending over and taking it with no care in the world, because American citizens don't have time outside of work and spending time with their families to pay attention to the bigger picture. People are waking up to it, thankfully. But I hope that this video served as a basis for you to understand you might not see it immediately. You might not see it in the media. Well, you won't see it in the media. We have to stay positive, because guess what? Trump's shaking up a system that has been set up specifically to destroy our country, make us subservient to our government and our allies. And hey, beautiful thing, Israel has tariffs and we don't have tariffs from them. Benjamin Netanyahu just made a visit to Washington, probably to talk about a preemptive strike on Iran, frankly, and overthrowing their government. But he said, we'll take the tariffs off of the U.S., even though we're giving them money in the form of a loan, which we don't track, that they just reinvest in U.S. treasuries. So we pay, that's usury at its finest, right? We give them money, then they put it back into our government in treasuries, and then we don't track what they do with the money. So we give them money, and then they charge us tariffs. Well, 17%. is what they've got. Benjamin Netanyahu's trip was a waste, and he looked terribly uncomfortable. Yeah, so guys, you got to have big balls to make these plays. You got to have big balls to stand up to the global power structure that has for 100 years been set up to control the U.S. economy, keep it down. Made a video yesterday. Go watch the video on the Federal Reserve and the federal income tax. This system has dismantled the American enterprise, the American empire. So I appreciate you for watching. Hopefully this helped you understand there's a lot more going on than just the Wall Street. I thought Democrats were supposed to be for the little guy, but they're freaking out that the big guys are losing money. So Trump's doing a really good job of also exposing the hypocrisy, the lies of the left and Democrats, in that they're really wanting their donors to keep their money. They want to tax us while their friends take huge tax cuts that they implement and loopholes. It's 10D chess at its finest. Thanks for tuning in. We'll be back tomorrow with another video. Peace.